Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, if your sales are sagging, maybe it's because you're not doing the appropriate follow-up. We'll be talking to a leading national expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I think anybody in sales is guilty of this. Can we be honest? You have a great sales meeting. It looks like you're going to sign the deal, and then you don't follow up, and you're depending on the client to do the follow-up, and then the sale goes cold. I think all of us are guilty of that. I think sales departments across the country are suffering because the salespeople don't have the stick-to-itiveness, or maybe just don't have the knowledge to follow up. I was on a webinar the other night, and it blew me away because the speaker, the person who was leading the webinar, was giving so many rock-solid tips that I ran out of notebook pages to write them down. Wanda Allen is with Follow-Up Sales Strategy. Wanda, thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure.
I want to hear a little bit about your background, because I know before you launched your company, you had a whole career before that.
I did. I was 25-year corporate career, was a business banker, and started at the age of 19 as a secretary, and at the age of 30, I was senior vice president. And I spent the lion's share of my career managing SBA departments, small business administration, and their loans. And it was through that experience that I developed a very strong skill for creating systems. And when I went into sales and realized how critical follow-up is to the sales process, I thought, well, how the heck do you stay on top of it all? And I fell back on what I know how to do well, which is create systems. And then the bank I was working for was acquired. We were not the lead bank. I was part of senior management, and you know how that story ends. So I also knew banking had run its course in my life. It was 2009. You remember where the economy was. It was on its head, and banking was a milk firestone store. So I used this opportunity to do something different, and I decided to start speaking and coaching and teaching people how to follow up so they can get more clients and close more sales.
Absolutely. We're going to pull up your website because it's a beautifully made website, and it really kind of goes into some of your sales strategies. I think you've carved out a very interesting niche. There are hundreds and hundreds of books about sales, but I don't know that there are many books on follow-up, and the follow-up is the key. You were giving me some statistics just before the show on how many salespeople never follow up. Would you share that with the audience?
Yeah, so 90% of people follow up twice and then quit. Well, that doesn't work because research also tells us that 80% of sales are made between the 5th and 12th contact. So you've got to be willing and able to go the distance until you get to a yes or a no, and that's what you're looking for. What you want to avoid is the ignores. And there's a lot of fears of following up. Please don't be afraid of no. It's an update. It's closure, you move on. So just remember those statistics. It's not about you. It's not about the prospect. It's just basically the nature of the beast in the sales world is it takes multiple contacts to get to your yes or no.
Yes, and I urge my audience to follow up with you on all your social media platforms because you give away the gold every single day. I found just dozens and dozens of rock-solid tips on YouTube. Let's go ahead and play one now.
Welcome to today's video. Well, there's a lot of fears associated with following up, and what happens when fears are in play, poor choices are made not to take action. And one of those poor choices is waiting for the prospect to get back to you. And it's never the prospect's job to follow up with the salesperson. It is always the salesperson's job to follow up with the prospect. And so even though prospects may tell you, oh, I'll let you know when we're ready, or I'll let you know if we're going to proceed, oftentimes they don't. And so when you leave the ball in somebody else's court, the prospect's court, to get back to you, you're leaving the growth of your sales in somebody else's hands. And you don't want to do that. That's not good business. So take responsibility, always take the initiative, always be in control of the next step, and have that follow-up ball in your court. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe because I want you back. Take care. Bye-bye.
And I think your business could not be more timely because, you know, famously, the knock that we all have on the Gen Z is that we gave them a trophy for showing up at soccer practice. And so they don't really have the stick-to-itiveness that some of the older generations have. So maybe speak to that young salesperson on, you're not being pushy, you're not being a used car salesman when you follow up. It's probably a mindset change, isn't it?
It is. And just always keep in mind, when you don't follow up, you are doing a disservice, obviously to yourself, but more importantly, you're doing a disservice to that prospect because you're not following up and giving them the opportunity to do business with you. So if your job is to bring in sales, then your job is to follow up. And if somebody's not following up, they're not doing their job. And if you're not doing your job, it's not being professional. So therefore, not following up is being unprofessional. Stay in the game, be professional, make a great impression, show you have initiative, show you have interest. That's the person that's going to get the business, not the one that follows up once or twice and then quits.
What's one of your favorite success stories of a company or a sales team or an individual that you've worked with?
Well, one of my clients, she I'm about systems. You know, you've got to have the right systems, routines, processes in place. And she came into my coaching, and within 1 year, she tripled her sales and bought a new home. So what did she do? She followed up consistently. And that's what happens. You get business when you do that. So that was a great success story.
I love that. You're a great storyteller. We're also going to put your book cover on the screen, Follow-Up Savvy and Follow-Up Sales Strategies. You wrote that a few years ago. Why don't you give us one of the tips from the book?
How to use a CRM. That is like the most important tip I can give you. Use a CRM and then just be committed to getting your follow-up work done every working day. If you will take those two tips, implement them, and I came back to you in a year, you tell me your sales are through the roof.
Wow. And do you find that sometimes that the client really kind of in their mind wants to buy from you, and then at a certain point becomes disappointed that you haven't followed up? It almost says that you're lazy and that you're not going to really perform if you can't even do the basic of following up.
Exactly. And it leaves a question mark in the prospect's mind. Is that somebody I want to do business with? I was ready. I told them to follow with me. They never did. You're going to lose the business because it does not leave a good impression at all.
Wow. Well, I think you are absolutely brilliant, Wanda, and I urge all my my listeners and viewers to go to your website, and I'll give that in a minute. But why don't we leave them with some final thoughts and words of encouragement?
You can just listen. I don't want you to think, well, I'm just not good at sales. That's not it. You can, if you're willing to follow up, I promise, I will guarantee you, you are going to be good at sales. People get nervous and uncomfortable and then they just blame it. Well, that's just not me. I can't do that. Yeah, you can. You just have to follow up. By the way, the number one way to bring in sales is to follow up. Research also tells us only 2% of sales are made on the first contact. So that's why I say be committed, get the right systems and processes in place, and you will excel. Because so many people don't do it. Listen, the bar's so low today, it doesn't take much. You barely have to lift a leg up to stand above and beyond your competition.
Wanda, I can see why you're so successful. Absolutely brilliant advice, and I will follow up with you. So leaving you on that note, we'll also leave you with the website, which is followupsalesstrategies.com. The great Wanda Allen. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.